Hey guys, my name is Zach, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you 8 big mistakes I made along my journey of growing my free community on Skool to 1,200 members. I grew from April 2024 to June 2025. I had a free community on the topic of kendama. Kendama is a Japanese skill toy. It has 3 cups, a spike, a ball with a hole in it, all connected together by a string. And I started it with my brother. We were both professional kendama players at the time. We started the community, and it ended up being a top 1% community for several months. It had the star next to it. It was great. And along the way, made a ton of mistakes that cost me a lot of effort, time, and a lot of members who joined and then later on left because of the quality of the community. So I really wanted to make this video because I really hope that these mistakes that I share with you guys are of value to those who maybe it might be a little bit newer to Skool, or those who are looking for inspiration of some new things to implement or anything like that. So let's get into it. So the first big mistake I made was that I skipped understanding the member experience entirely. I'm putting this first because, yeah, it's really foundational to every single other point. I really think that if I got this down and I only did this, everything in my experience on Skool would have been so much better. And I doubt I would have made as many mistakes as I did. When I started on Skool, I just jumped right into starting my own free community. I was really excited. I had over 20,000 followers on Instagram, and I thought my followers were going to absolutely love something like this. And I just got right into it. I was like, all right, there's courses. There's where I can put courses, and there's a community aspect. I'm going to start just focusing on building my community and not really exploring the app or joining any other communities at all. So yeah, I wasn't commenting, connecting, or observing in any other community. Had no reference point of how a community was operating, whether it be one that I thought wasn't that great or one that I thought was really, really good. I had no reference point for anything. And so because of that, once I finally launched my free community, after weeks of preparing, I made way more mistakes. All the mistakes I made in this video, like I said, I think I maybe could have prevented if I just focused on actually joining around communities first and actually interacting with them. And when I launched my free community, my community wasn't really well run or very fun because I didn't know how to make the experience enjoyable for my members, because I had never took the time to become an active member in any other community myself, and never gave myself an opportunity to really experience what it's like to be a member in a great community. So yeah, this led me to not be able to teach my members how to use Skool when they had questions, which they're coming all off of Instagram, so they all had questions. And I had no idea what a good community to me felt like, so I had no idea how to implement that. And it made me feel like running my community and beating on Skool in general was more of a chore instead of fun. I put a lot of pressure on myself to make it work, and for me, I didn't even know what that meant back then. I mean, I wasn't even trying to monetize off the bat. It was just a free community, and I still was like, oh, how do I do this? This is so much pressure. I don't want to get it wrong. And I could have avoided all that if I just took the pressure off myself. For sure, starting my own community. Now it's way easier than ever with a $9 plan. So I think it makes sense for anybody to start a community just to have access to Skoolers, which is the community for all Skool community owners. But I think if I restarted today and just started prioritizing and focusing on being an active member in other communities, I would have learned so much about all the points that I just referenced, like knowing what a community felt good to me, knowing what that felt like, knowing anything about Skool at all, so I could actually just tell people how to use it, etc. So yeah, if I restarted today, I go back and learn how everything works as a member as soon as possible. And to do that, I would just do 2 things. I would join communities in Discovery that match my interests. There were no other kendama communities on the platform at the time, but I'm very much into health, fitness, so I would have joined any other communities like that. And then I would have made an effort to be active in them. So what that would mean would be, like, for me, I would love to make comments, connect with other members, maybe through other comments, or maybe even DMing them. And then maybe even making some of my own posts after I got more of a gist of how everything worked, maybe the rules on the posting in each group, etc., all that stuff. So I would prioritize doing that for 4 weeks before putting all the focus on growing my community, before really thinking like, all right, how do I make my member experience better? What do I need to put in the classroom? How to make all of this better? And I think making my focus and being active in other groups would have helped me to, of course, learn the platform so I could actually teach my future members how to use it. That's pretty crucial, I thought. And then I could also see examples of communities that are ran in a way that align and don't align with me, so I can decide on what to copy and what to avoid in my own community. And then I could see how to make Skool fun, how to make school fun through meeting like-minded people around similar interests in my own, making it easy and enjoyable to come back on the platform every single day. And that last part's a key part for me, because if when I started on Skool, it wasn't exactly fun for me to open Skool app and kind of figure out what I'm doing, because I wasn't actually having fun or meeting anybody. I was just focused on, how do I set up my group? How do I prepare courses? And how do I, talk to the members in this group in an efficient way? And I was in my head about a lot of that stuff. But if I could just go online and talk to somebody about, what they're doing for their workouts, what type of way are they eating? I mean, that stuff used to interest me, still does interest me. And so if I could just go on and talk about that stuff that I'm actually interested in, it would have been a lot more fun, and would have made my association with Skool a lot better, and I would have started having fun a lot sooner. So that's that. My big mistake number 2 was that I grew too fast. So like I said, I had over 20,000 followers on Instagram, and my brother had around the same. So we actually just advertised this all in one go. We built hype, and we made a post on Instagram, set up a mini chat, and overnight we gained hundreds of members, which felt really, really cool at first. I felt like, oh, this is really easy. This works super fast. This is going to go great. But my community had a really weak foundation, mostly because of the mistakes. Yeah, you'll keep reading in this post. I hardly knew anything about Skool or how to make a community, because of what I just said about my first mistake. My community had a hype around when we launched. I mean, we hyped it up, my brother and I hyped it up for about a week, maybe a little more, probably a little more than that. And so when it finally came around, people were so excited to see, what was this new thing? And so when people joined, there was engagement. It was like, oh my gosh, this is great. It's like a party. But then after the first few days, the initial hype, like anything, it died down, and then engagement dropped, and some members never really came back. And that was really due to the quality of the community. There's hype there, but when the product isn't good, the hype doesn't last, and then the true colors of what I'm actually providing really showed. So if I had to go back today and do it over, I would start a lot slower. I would focus on growing a lot slower than I did. So instead of launching through social media, my main feed straight up to my 20,000 followers, same with my brother, I'd first go just through my contacts, just on my phone, who's in my cell phone, and then maybe people who I'm following on Instagram as well. I'd first go through my contacts and then invite friends who I know are interested in the community's topic via DM. So yeah, I think that would have helped me to start with only people I trust and actually care about the topic. So nobody's coming in there that isn't really interested in kendama. I would invite only kendama players, and I knew several. I knew hundreds, so I could have invited around 20, at least, to get the ball rolling. I would have learned to build a community from the ground up. So instead of getting thrown into the fire chamber and starting a community and starting to learn how to do anything in the online community with 300 members, I could have started with 20 people, which would have been way better. I would have been able to figure out the kinks with way less people, and it would have been a lot smoother because I could have got feedback a lot faster. And then I would have been able to begin to create community culture and strong foundation. I think this is really crucial, and it was later on we were able to do it, but going from 0 to 300 overnight, there was no culture, there was no foundation, and with that many people acting in so many different ways and posting in so many different ways and talking to each other in so many different ways, all this stuff, it made it hard. It made it really hard to have some level of guidelines for everybody to understand. So that was tough. And if I started slow, I think that could have been avoided easily. Further than that, if I were to go back and after, let's say I did invite around 20 people, to continue growing from there, I would have asked my members to invite their friends. And that is because I trust them. I would trust them more than me just posting on Instagram and just launching it hey, now we're finally ready to launch. No, I would continue. I would say, hey, you guys have been here for a while. Who do you guys think would also really enjoy this community? And then they would invite their friends, which solid members, people getting referrals into something. They're going to already have a friend in the group. That works great. So that would increase everybody's activity for sure, I think. And then Also, after that, when I would go to social media, I would definitely start slower and just post in more subtle places. So for me, my main audience is just all on Instagram. So I would just post it on my Instagram story and linked it. Maybe only would have accepted like 10 people in at a time, something like this for like every week, maybe every half week, something like this. And would have just grown slow with it. So with the story, I think that would have been good because people seeing my story are likely going to be some of my most engaged followers, some of my most engaged Konami players who are following me, and I think that would have been really good to let them in who are clearly obviously more interested in my stuff on social media than my other followers. So I think those would have been great, and then maybe eventually I would take to the feed and start doing that. But I would have grown a lot slower first. So, and I think that would have helped me grow slow with the highest chance of great members. So my big mistake number 3 was I wasn't consistently active. This was massive. This was absolutely huge. About 2 months after I started my community, I began to travel. That's a pretty funny story, but I began to become less active in my community, and it got to the point where I would only go online in my community about a couple times per week, which was not good. For as an owner. I mean, Skool has it in their tips for improving on discovery. It's just like active owner. And you see one of the goats on Skool, Nick Sarive, like I said that right, he's Maker Skool. He's active every single day. You go to his activity chart, he's like green box after green box after green box for the past year. So there's huge emphasis on that, and I just didn't do that. And so I would sometimes wonder, why is my community inactive? Like when I would go on to my community, I would see nobody's really posting. I'd be like, why is that? How's that even possible? Which is hilarious because like obviously I'm setting the example as a community owner, and I'm not even active in the community myself. So how could I expect people to become active when I myself am not? So when they saw me stop posting and commenting, they stopped too. And at one point I saw the comment like on different platform, different social media. I think it was like Reddit or no, Facebook. And then I remember seeing people saying, oh yeah, Gallagher Kanama is dead. And that was the name of the group at the time that I had with my brother. And it stung. It stung, but they were completely right. I mean, it went from just this hype, like new thing, to slowly dying out, like slowly evening out, and then dropping activity because my activity wasn't at all there. And after being gone for a few months, I went back to the community, started to pick it back up, but it took a lot of effort. It took a lot of effort to bring the fire to the community back, and some previously active members never returned. So if I had to start and do it over again today, I'd set a goal for myself to get 10 activities in my own community per day. Not just on Skool, but 10 activities in my own community. And an activity on Skool looks like I like someone's post, or I comment. And I would try and make most of those comments if I could. So yeah, and by doing this, I would be able to show my members that I show up every day, which is great, leading by example. Which, yeah, my second point is set an example for my members to follow. If they see me commenting and engaging and making posts, they're going to probably be encouraged to do the same. And it would also help me build strong connections with my members. And I think that's a really big important part. That's the whole reason of why I want to show up every day and actually engage, is to do that, to build that community culture, to build that feeling of home in my community for all the people who are interested in the niche, are all separated and thousands of miles away from each other, to build that culture of like, and that feeling of, okay, these are my fam, these are my guys, these are my people. And I wasn't doing that when I was totally inactive. It was just another random space on the internet when I wasn't active because everybody stopped posting and stopped commenting, and it sucked. So big mistake number 4 was I put too much useless content in the classroom. And before my launch, I wasted weeks making 9 courses to put in my classroom, thinking that they'd be really useful to my future members. I remember texting my brother. My brother lived in Japan at the time. And so we're operating on a 13-hour, 14-hour time difference when I was in Florida. And I'd put so much pressure on myself, and we put so much pressure on ourselves to just get this course up, just get all these courses up, like based on like what we thought people needed. And it was actually mostly me. He was doing something else at the time. I basically thought of all these things, was like, yeah, we got to do this. And all these things that we created together, they weren't useful at all. well, not all of them, but 95% of them. And so after the first couple of weeks in my community, after we launched, I say, hey, look at the classroom. We have all these like ton of fun goodies and resources for you guys. I really saw it and learned that our members really only cared about one or two of the module or of the courses in there max. The rest were completely ignored. And that's when I realized I didn't really know what my members wanted at all. And this is after being in the game for like 13 years and knowing a lot of people. And still, like, I had no idea who I was really making this for and what they specifically would benefit from. I was really out of touch. So I wasted so many hours planning, writing, filming, and editing things no one used. And so if I could go back right now and do it again, the only thing I'd start off with in a classroom would be an onboarding. With the onboarding, when I say that, I mean the kind of next steps, part of the next steps a new member would take when they would join the community. So join the community, go to the onboarding, then they would learn maybe some stuff about the community guidelines and some stuff about how to use Skool in general, because they're coming off of Instagram, right? They've 99.9% of the people who joined our community really had never ever even heard of Skool or never used it before. So even though Skool is really intuitive to use and really easy, just removing that friction of learning and making it as easy as possible, that would have been huge. So, yep, and I would in the first few weeks after the launch, just because we only have one thing in the classroom, the onboarding, build a community culture. It's everybody's coming here only for hanging out with people, meeting friends around the same interest, and connecting. After that, I would ask my members on what they like more help on, what they like more guidance on, what type of resources would be really helpful for them. Like really understand their goals, why they want to have it, what the problem is in the way of that goal, and then I would try and make a resource that would help them get to their goal faster or solve that problem. And yeah, this way, after knowing their answers, I wouldn't waste time making things nobody wanted because I literally just asked them, they told me, and then I would just go make it. And yeah, that way I would know for sure that they would be helpful because of that conversation, no more guessing. And that would have, again, saved me countless hours of my life. Like, I didn't have to spend 99% of the time that I did in preparing for this community. And yeah, going back, I would have just launched it in like a day or two probably. So my big mistake number 5 was that I had a weak onboarding. So I referenced onboarding in the previous mistake. Let's go into it a little more depth. So for months, I had no onboarding. I didn't have an onboarding until like 6, 7, 8 months after. That's insane, right? But that's what happened. So this meant when I got new members, they were left to figure out both my community, how things worked, and then how the Skool platform worked for themselves. It was kind of like having people show up to a party of mine, but not telling them where the bathroom was or where they could get food, drinks, etc. And that was really painful for my members. There was a lot of confusion. It caused them a lot of them to give up figuring things out before they ever figured things out, and it caused them to stop using the community. It caused them to stop coming back, which I totally get. I mean, if I get a new piece of gym equipment and I don't get an instruction manual, I'm probably not going to set that thing up. Or it's going to take way longer. I'm going to have to watch a YouTube tutorial. I don't know if I have all the pieces. It's going to suck. So yeah, it was really painful for my members. And I ended up improving this later on when I actually did implement an onboarding into my classroom that was actually mostly text. So the reason it was mostly text is because it's way faster to get through than me just speaking on a video, and a long video explaining everything. And then also, if anything changed in my community, which of course it did, I could just go back and edit the onboarding really fast. And instead of recording a new video, it was really easy to edit. So my new onboarding included community guidelines, how to use Skool, and then how to download the Skool app. Not a lot of people coming from a different platform for my audience knew that there was a Skool app. And 99% of my audience were all just phone users. They're not going to go on Skool. And I personally love Skool on the computer, but 99% of the people that are coming onto Skool, they were not using Skool on the computer. So they didn't even know. So that's super painful. Like, they probably only thought their experience on Skool was just like, I have to go through Safari and do it, which, yeah, not the best. So with all that new onboarding, it helped my members understand how things worked very quickly, which helped them stay in my community and participate even more. And I actually dropped an onboarding of like, my onboarding looks something like this. I dropped my course key for it that I hope can be useful to you guys. I basically just put what my onboarding looks like for one of my communities I have right now that I really just recently started, and just how to set it up. And so you guys can just copy that into your classroom and then edit it to match your community if you guys want. So I just know that something like that would have helped me a lot when I started. It would have saved me a lot of time and a lot of members from leaving. So yeah, feel free to take inspiration from that. And actually, since this is a video, I'll show you. So what it looks like is really this. It has a welcome. Just boom, here's your first task. This module is going to tell you all you need to know. And then if you need support, please contact me here. Community values goes over the values, stuff like how to engage, how to interact with members, community news and updates, where to find that, how this community is going to be moderated, even technical questions like reach out to Zach, me. Click the check mark when you're done. Boom. Stuff and posting and commenting. Types of posts to avoid and types of posts that are encouraged in the community. How to remind people to use the reply function. I see that a lot on Schools, that when people make a new comment or engage in a discussion in a post, sometimes they don't hit the reply and they just comment on the bottom of the post. And so that's just not, that's gonna be a little confusing for both the people there, for both the person they're having a conversation with and the person who's leaving the comment in the first place. And yeah, reminder to use likes. It's not just about you. I want to hear everybody's ideas. Really just enunciating the fact that this is a we thing, not a me thing. And so every one of us, like, let's share, let's have conversations, let's leave our questions open. Let's not make any just expert posts, which I kind of go over in this posting and commenting section right here. I would just explain the community tab. Boom, like here's this, general discussion, wins. These are the categories. I explain the categories, what to post in them. Again, a reminder how to use the reply function, and then just big thing of like no promotions. You cannot promote anything in this community. So that by using that, I tell them how to use this tab right here, community tab, and then I explain the classroom, calendar, and leaderboard tab all in one go. So I would just go to the classroom, like, hey, in this classroom you find this module and something else. This is just a screenshot I took from somebody else that I used to work with and in their classroom. So I would just include a screenshot of that. I would include the description of the calendar tab in Skool. Show them, hey, this is a section where you can keep up to date with our community events each month, community hangouts, any type of other event, and then tell them that you can actually add the calendar event to your native calendar, to your Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, whatever you use. You can do that by just clicking add to calendar. I think that's really important. I can't tell you how many times I've missed an event in a community because I didn't add it to my calendar. So that was crucial for me to put in there. Lastly, leaderboards. I would just tell them how leaderboards work. And this is when I kind of just really briefly explain the point system. I know people, when I first came onto Skool and all my communities were like, what is the leaderboards? Does this mean anything? Does this mean like I'm worse than this other person in my community? Does this mean that I'm better than this person in my community? Yeah, I just explained that in this community, personally, like in this own community, the leaderboards don't really mean anything. It doesn't mean anything like that. Well, we did do contests and prizes based on points. So we did do that, but later on I just made it so, hey, like, we actually don't do that anymore. Leaderboards mean really nothing. They just are a reflection of how active a person is, how actively they're commenting and liking stuff. So I explained that. And then the last thing, this is the example. This is literally the course key. So I would go into and I would make it look like this. I would say, introduce yourself. Now you've finished the onboarding. And now you can go and introduce yourself. Now, like, feel free to do that. And then feel free to just do your intro like this. My name is this. I'm based in X location. And then maybe some stuff according to your community. So for me back in the time, it was like my favorite Kanama is this, and the last Kanama event I went to was Y. So something like that. But I would just tell people to format it like this just to make it super easy for them. So big mistake number 6 was I had a weak pinned welcome intro post. I had a weak welcome post, which was also doubled as my intro post. And I see this part of the onboarding too, because it still is a part of those next steps that for me, when a member comes in, this was the first thing they saw. So I still think it was a part of the onboarding, but I just wanted to make it separate because I think it deserves to be shared on its own. When I started the community, I had this post, this welcome post, this start here post. I'm sure maybe some of you have seen it in communities you've poked around in. But I had a welcome post pinned to the top, so it'd be the first thing people saw when they joined. And it was really vague and directionless. There were no obvious steps to take for a new member. There was nothing like check out the onboarding, introduce yourself, comment your favorite dessert. There was no steps. I mean, the classroom tab was just one click away, right? But how would they know to go there? Some of them made it there, but some of them didn't. Some of them never made it, even when I had the onboarding. So because of that, there are a lot of members were left to figure out things for themselves. And some tried to figure it out, but yeah, many didn't. And and I believe that made them less likely to come back online to our community. On top of that, just a quick side note, I encourage people to make intros as their own posts. So I had an introduction category and section in Skool. And that was cool for at first, but with hundreds of members joining overnight, that clogged up the entire feed. So everything else I had in the community, like general discussion, wins, like econometrics, everything like that just got bumped way down. And the only thing people could see were introduction posts, which was not good. And later, I fixed it. I fixed it by making a new pinned welcome post, and that included why I created the community, the goal of the community, the topics I encourage everybody to talk about, how to find the onboarding in the classroom, like, hey, click here, this is where you can learn more about how to get started, and then how and where to introduce themselves, which was literally in the same exact post, the same exact welcome post. So that removed all the clogging of the feed, and it was really great. Like, everybody had one section they could go to see introductions, which is the welcome post itself, and then the entire feed was clean. So I think this change made the first experience for new members a lot better, which helped them come back and continue to be active. They understood their next steps right after joining the community, and they were able to connect with others faster. They had less confusion, and yeah, more of them stayed active in the community, I think, because of it. So I want to share my welcome post example that I've linked to this post as well. This is just a welcome post for, the same community that I have right now that I just started. So it's on Christian entrepreneurs. So it's like, welcome to the community. I am Zach, I'm 25, I'm from Seattle. Here's a little about the story, about context of why I started the community. Here is me talking about the topics that I encourage people to talk about just off the top of my head. Of course, it's not limited to this, but just to give people a quick idea. And here I would link the onboarding in the classroom. So I would just click the first start here in the onboarding. I just copy and paste that link, that URL, and link it to this text. And then I would say in the post, like, once you're done with that, once you're done going through the onboarding, please introduce yourself with this format. And then feel free to reply to one to two other members in the comments, and bonus points if you use a photo or two in your intro. So yeah, that was, I think, a big improvement. I had something like that for the economic community as well. But I just wanted to give you guys something like more relevant that I'm doing right now. And yeah, that helped a lot. It helped a lot of people connect with each other and start having discussions and learning more about each other. And it was awesome. It was really great to have that. My big mistake number 7 was that I cared about posting more than commenting. When I started my first community, I stressed a lot about what I should post, how to post, and how often to post. I cared way more about that than actually commenting on other people's posts. So most of the time, I only ever left one comment on posts that weren't my own. I would see a post, it already had a couple comments. I'd be like, all right, sounds good. I'm going to answer this with whatever my thoughts are. And then I would just leave. I wouldn't engage with any of the other comments already on the post. I wouldn't really have conversations or discussions in them. But I'd only do that when it would come to my post. So when people were continuing to comment on mine, I'd make sure to reply to every single person. I'd have conversations with them. It was great, but it's not like I was posting every single day. And so this really didn't happen that often. And I think this played a big part in many of our community posts, not having many comments. We didn't have many back and forth interactions happening, and overall less connections between members. Because again, I think this is just another thing of my members following my example. When people saw me not really going in depth in other people's posts, it probably just encouraged them to do the same. And maybe, instilled the norm of, okay, guys, when Zach posts, it's like everybody comments and has like fun in these posts. When everybody else posts, it's like, let's just answer, and then that's it. That's the norm. It's like, let's not go in depth. Let's just give an answer and then move on to the next post, or like log off the app. So later I improved this by encouraging my members to post more. And so what this looked like was if someone asked me a question in a DM or a comment, Zach, what do you think about this trick on the kendama? What do you think about what happened at the competition last week? Who do you think is going to win the next competition in Japan? Who do you think, stuff like this. I actually didn't answer them most of the time. I would encourage them just to make a post in the community about it, because that way I could answer them there and give them what they were looking for, but also it's get everybody else involved, because whether it be like a question to learn something or just an opinion or my opinion on anything, everybody would get more value from everybody else also joining that discussion, offering their opinions, and giving this person who asked me the initial question like way more perspectives to consider and see what resonates with them. Because yes, they would come to me for advice on something sometimes, but am I the best person giving the advice? Maybe not. Maybe they would resonate harder with something one of my other members would have said. And so that really, really worked really well. That sparked a lot of discussion, a lot of comments in each post. And then sometimes I would even just ask. I would just straight up ask some of my most active members, which this is where the leaderboards. I mean, as a community owner, I definitely had a sense of like, all right, who's really here and who are my 10 true regulars. But the leaderboards definitely help with that too. So I was able to see like who was active in the last 7 days, last month, and then just ever. So sometimes I would just ask some of them, like, hey, can you make a post about XYZ subject? And sometimes I would just make the post for them. Or like say, hey, what do you think about this type of post? And they'd be like, hey, like, who do you think is going to win? Who do you think the best Canal player in the world is right now? And then they would make the post, and that would be a huge discussion. That'd be a massive discussion. It was really, really fun. So, but I don't think they would have posted it if I didn't just straight up ask them to. So sometimes that worked really, really well. So as a result of this improvement, our community began to have a lot more conversations and connection, which was super good for the culture of the community. Like, this is now a place, this really just reinstated the fact that this is a place where kendama players from all over the world, not just from America, but we have people from Asia, Europe, or many different countries in those continents. This is a place for all of us to connect and just talk about kendama in one spot, away from social media, away from where I'm going to get distracted by a freaking a different reel that's like, I don't know, girls, or like any like Logan Paul, something like this. This is just one spot for us to connect off the social media platforms, which a lot of people really, really appreciated. Mistake number 8 is my last one that I have on here. Most of my posts were actually value posts at the beginning. At the beginning, when I say value posts, I really just mean making posts saying how to do X or 5 ways to do Y. And I thought, looking back, it's just so hilarious to me, because sometimes I would actually spend hours writing posts that I hope would bring value to my members. And maybe they did help, for sure. But each of those posts resulted in 0 to 2 comments. And if I did get a comment, it would just be like, thanks, or so true, Zach, so true. And that's not necessarily bad. I mean, them showing appreciation, like, I really, really appreciated it. I was really happy to see that, okay, this helped somebody. But I think what me making those value posts did was really just make my school feel like social media. So at the beginning, people are coming in, they're expecting something different, like come off Instagram, they're finally here in school, like, hey, and then I just post a value post, and they're thinking, and then it's just bringing that same feeling back, like they're watching me. Like if they're following me on Instagram, they're watching me post something, I get a comment on their post and just see it, and then that's really it. I don't really get to have a discussion with them. It's not really, I can't really easily connect with other people either. And there's kind of just watching, waiting for me to post my next really insightful opinion. And yeah, that led to really low engagement on those posts, and just reinstated like less engagement in the community in general, and then less discussion too. So I fixed that later by making the vast majority of my posts to be questions. And just actually most of the time really, really simple questions, like super simple questions. Some stuff like, what is your favorite type of kendama? When do you start playing kendama? Where are you from? What is your most recent win? Who's your favorite kendama player? That one hit, okay? If you're in a sport or anything, or any topic, like asking who your favorite pro or favorite really well-known person in the subject, in the topic, that's huge, because a lot of great discussions can happen from that. And if you say like, who's the best, insert anything, that can be really fun too. So once I started asking way more questions, community members started to make more question posts as well. You know, again, with the community owner setting the example, like who would have thought? I really think it's because, yeah, again, the community owner me was making these types of posts, and it helped lower the pressure that some of the members might have felt when they went to post. Because, you know, I'm previously I was a community member. I'm posting these like valuable insights in the community. I can just imagine, you know, if I'm going on like any other group and any other subject, you know, this is the thing that I spend the most time in my life on right here. And if I go on in any other group, any other subject, like this, I don't know, water polo, and I see a person just only posting how to be the best at water polo, how to be the best at freaking, you know, just scoring a ton of points and just staying up and all this stuff. And if I'm seeing only posts about that, I'm going to be way less inclined to post as a beginner, or if somebody who's just not at that level yet, who's not even close to that level. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to stay back. It doesn't make sense for me to post here. Only the big dogs are posting here. My opinion isn't valuable enough. So I was effectively just creating that feeling, I think. But when I went to these questions, I believe that when people saw me start making these simple posts, these simple question posts that were really, really fun and sparked a lot of discussion, I think people saw like, okay, the community owner, Zach, the quote unquote like expert of the group, he's just asking us for our opinion. Oh my gosh, like this is kind of normal now. He's been doing this for a while, and I'm going to start making a post too. And that's what I saw. That's what I was able to see with just the trend in the group, and that made the group super fun. So if I had to go back, I would have just started doing that from the beginning. And that would have been great if I had that culture created from the beginning. So those are my thoughts there. And it was clear, yeah, it was really, really effective. So no one had to bring value in order to be able to post. Everybody could just ask whatever was on their mind, and there's that. That was all my 8 posts, my eight mistakes from building my community to 1,200 members. The community doesn't exist anymore, but might have to reactivate it with my brother. We'll see. But I really hope this helped, and I really thank you if you read the post and just made it this far in the video. I want to end this out by saying massive shout out to Calvin Hollywood. Big shout out to that dude. That guy, as I say in the post here, that guy's a complete sauce fest, okay? I only realized a lot of these were mistakes because of him. And so really big shout out to you, Calvin. I mean, you are literally, I've always felt that you're on the cutting edge of Skool. So I just really want a big shout out to you if you're listening to this. I'm really happy to answer, if you're watching this from Skoolers, I'm really happy to answer any questions in the comments as well. If you're on YouTube, same. So good luck to everybody starting the Skool community, and I will see you guys in the next video.